trig functions and the characteristics of their graphs.
So, we know this looks a little bit confusing right now, but we'll help you break it down if you keep watching.
The 6 trig functions you'll need to know are sine, cosine, tangent, cotangent, cosecant, and secant. And these are their abbreviations you'll use.
So these are the 3 main trig functions, and it's important to know that tangent is sine divided by cosine. And over here you can see that each one of these 3 basic ones have reciprocals, which are the 3 down here. So cosecant is the reciprocal of sine, secant is the reciprocal of cosine, and cotangent is the reciprocal of tangent.
Okay, so your function sine is this red curve, and sine on the parent function is always going to go through 0, 0, and its boundaries are going to be 1 and -1, so it will never go past them, as you can see on this.
So this blue line, the cosecant graph, will always have vertical asymptotes when the sine function is at 0. So as you can see here, the sine function is 0, and there's a vertical asymptote going along that line. This happens because they're reciprocal functions, so the reciprocal of 0 is going to be undefined. So that's why there's a vertical asymptote on the cosecant graph.
So on your sine graph, if you have a point that's less than 1, like 1/3, the reciprocal of 1/3 is going to be 3, so it's going to be greater than 1, and it's going to be 3 up here.
Still on sine and cosecant, and it's important to know that you may be wondering why both of the graphs land on the ordered pair of 1. So that's because, like we said earlier, when you have a point on here, the reciprocal is going to be the cosecant graph. So like this, your ordered pair is a number, and then the y value is going to be 1, but the reciprocal of 1 is 1. So that's why both of these graphs are placed on the ordered pair of a number and then 1.
This graph is going to be your cosine, and this is going to be your secant. And these graphs are going to be exactly the same as the other ones, just with different points, because they are reciprocals as well. Cosine, as you can see, looks exactly like sine, except for it does not go through the origin, it goes through the amplitude, which in this graph is 1.
Okay, so now we have the green line being the tangent function and cotangent being the graph, and the red line being the graph of cotangent. So these 2 reciprocals look a little bit different than the other ones we looked at, but it's important to know that they're still reciprocals. So these graphs, these 2 different trig functions of each other on the graph are going to be a reflection and a shift. So versus the other ones that we talked about.
You can see we have sine and cosine here again. Sine being the red because it goes through 0, 0, and cosine being the blue because it's at 1, which is the amplitude. These graphs are the same, except for they're just phase shifts of each other. So like if you would move cosine just 1 over, it would go through the center, which is sine.
Okay, so on the screen here we have cosecant and secant. Secant is the black and cosecant is the other one. And as you can tell, cosecant and secant are both the reciprocals of sine and cosine. So just like the graphs that we had earlier talked about, these are pretty much the same, but they're a phase shift. So that's going to be a horizontal shift to the left and to the right.
Thanks for watching! Sine, cos, tan, cotan, sin.
In between where the sine is. So you're going to have to know that.
And these graphs are the same as sine and cotan.
So these,
These graphs?
Okay, so on the graph here we have that this one is cosecant.